The government's spending cuts are affecting many people right across the country. Some of the most vulnerable members of our society say even they aren't being protected from their impact. The West Country tonight learned that some terminally ill patients are being refused vital equipment and social care.
Among the affected are those with motor neuron disease, a fatal illness for which there is no effective treatment or cure. Our health correspondent Rebecca Broxton reports.
2 years ago, design engineer Robert Penman was diagnosed with motor neurone disease, a terminal, incurable and rapidly progressing degenerative disease of the nervous system. Mr. Penman can no longer walk, has difficulty breathing and limited mobility in his arms and wrists, but he still works full-time.
Every day, everything gets harder, but I'll carry on working as long as I can. My company are very good and they allow me to do that, mostly from home, but just going in maybe half a day a week.
Most of the equipment Mr. Penman needs, like his wheelchair and a hoist, has been provided by the NHS. Now he needs a special wrist support.
It's two things that come from behind the wheelchair and attached to the arms, and that would make a lot of things a lot easier, one of them being eating, and hopefully the main thing is to carry on working.
But Mr. Penman has been told by his occupational therapist there is no NHS money to pay for it. The charity, the Motor Neurone Disease Association, says it's becoming an all too familiar story.
To date, this year, we've been asked for 6 mobile arm supports, having never had a request for one before. And it is something that I feel is very important to maintain independence for people with MND, so that they can carry on feeding or dressing or writing using the computer themselves. It prolongs independence, and I feel it's very much like an amputee who needs a prosthetic limb, and by denying that, it is the equivalent to being told that you can't have a prosthetic arm or a prosthetic leg.
Just how the cuts are affecting people with motor neurone disease, or MND as it's known, is the hot topic at association conferences.
If you look at social care in particular, we're seeing access to social care packages being cut, stealth cuts like eligibility criteria being tightened, delays in providing social care to people with MND. And MND is a rapidly progressing disease. If you've only got 14 months to live, you haven't got time to be waiting around for these services. And things like social care are vital to a person's well-being. It's dressing, washing, bathing, feeding. These things are really, really important.
Norman Hodson was told he was no longer eligible for special swimming classes designed to strengthen his muscles.
I don't have a physio to tell me to stop doing exercises or fish me out of a swimming pool or what have you. I have to do these independently. Changing rooms are difficult for me because wet tiles and crutches, you need somebody there to support you in case you fall over or what have you. When you try and do it on your own and you slip over and what have you, you could cause an injury. So it's a false economy, basically, I think, really.
So incensed at how they're being affected by the cuts, a group of MND sufferers joined last month's march and rally against the cuts in London. It's not just levels of care and equipment that are being cut back. Very little is known about MND. There's no treatment, no cure. And at the moment, the government only spends around £5 million a year on research, and that is constantly reviewed.
When research funding is cut, one of the consequences is that the adventurous, exciting research doesn't get funded. The safe research, which really confirms what we already know, tends to get funded. And I think there's a loss of innovation and adventure, and that's a real concern for difficult diseases like motor neurone disease.
Cuts in research funding will have knock-on effects for the future. Cuts in care and equipment are affecting people now.
It really challenges the concept of the NHS and healthcare being free at the point of need. If you need, but the NHS isn't providing, where does that force you? There's a deep inequity here. If you have a condition like cancer, for example, the system works marvellously. If you have a condition like MND, the system collapses around you.
Robert Penman has one message for those in charge of NHS purse strings.
I would say that they should maybe come down and have a look at these people and see what they're having to go through, how difficult it is for them, especially when we're talking only like £1,000 or so. I think it should be funded sooner, much sooner than later.
Rebecca Broxton in Langford for the West Country Tonight.
Well, Rebecca's with us now. Rebecca, some strong claims in that report. What's the government had to say?
Well, we did ask the government for an interview with a minister, but I'm afraid we were refused. What the Department of Health has told me is that it is hoping to address some of the problems with access to social care by ploughing £2 billion into the system over the next 4 years. But I have to say, for people with motor neurone disease who are suffering right now, right at this moment, that could well be too late. Their condition generally deteriorates rapidly. If they need care, they need it now. And for many, very sadly, a lot of this money will come online too late. As far as the equipment is concerned, the Department of Health says it's a matter for local primary care trusts, but it does seem to be happening across the board. I spoke to one local primary care trust this afternoon in Gloucestershire. They admitted to me they have turned down motor neurone disease patients for equipment. They realise the impact this is having, and they're going to be having a meeting next week to look at this problem and the requests and how they deal with it in the future.
OK, Rebecca, thank you very much indeed. And as you may have seen during Rebecca's report there, part 1 of her series is available online on our website right now.